Alright, we had a really cool reveal here recently from Unique Toys with their R-10 Leader of Justice, aka BAYVERSE Optimus Prime. This is of course Optimus Prime from the first 3 films, and you can switch between his 07/Revenge of the Fallen look and the Dark of the Moon look with the different abs and elbows. And guys, I gotta be completely honest here, I'm so freaking excited for this! Many fans, myself included, have been looking for a new take on BAYVERSE Prime. I never thought MPM4 was as bad as some people made it out to be. It's definitely very, very flawed. But I didn't find it to be the worst thing, even though I think the Legendary Toys KO version is better. And then of course there is the Weijing Black Apple Thunder Leader, which up until this point I do believe is the best transforming Bay Prime. The only thing there though is you kind of have to either mod him or get upgrades like an upgrade head to really make him that good. He's still pretty cool, but he is definitely flawed, and I've kind of thought that from day one, even though I do like him. A lot of that can be traced back to the fact that he is based on MPM4. So it's very cool to see a new masterpiece take on this design. We do have the Magnificent Mecha version as well, and I was all in on that one, even though it looks kind of flawed here and there, but overall still very good, and they really impressed me with their Bumblebee movie Optimus. I think that's the best figure of that design. Hell, I've even bought 2 of its repaints because of how good that figure is. So I'm still interested in their version. Who knows if I'll still go for it, but Unique Toys has definitely stolen some of the thunder from them, if I'm being completely honest. Unique Toys has a proven track record. All of their figures are great. Even the quote-unquote worst of the bunch could still be considered good. And this guy, you know, we'll start with the robot mode. It looks amazing. The detail is awesome. They've definitely upped their game in that regard. And I do think the proportions and everything, for the most part, are pretty good. You do get some things that are a little iffy. Like, I do feel like parts of his shoulder area do look a little small. And then his feet look a little small as well, although I feel like if they were more wide, that would definitely kind of fix it. And then a big thing that's been pointed out is that his head looks a tad small, which is kind of one of the issues with the Thunder Leader, Black Apple Prime. And I can definitely see that, although for me, there are shots in the movies where Optimus's head does look kind of small. Maybe it's just the angle or whatnot, but sometimes it can kind of look like this, so I'm not super bothered, although I wouldn't mind if the head was a little bigger. As mentioned before, you can give him the different abs and elbows from Dark of the Moon, and I think that is a very cool feature. Although I also don't mind the way Magnificent Mecha is doing it with just having the 2 separate figures, because for me, I don't mind, since even though it's light, there is a design change, but I do think that it's very cool to have that built-in option with this guy. From what we can see, the articulation looks very good, especially this kneeling pose here, and it looks like he'll have a matrix at the very least. He also seems to have the spiked knuckles from when he fought Shockwave, but that's all we've seen so far of accessories. We haven't even seen if he'll have his regular unmasked face or not. I'm sure that'll be included, and I'm sure we'll see his ion cannon, the really big gun he has from Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction, of course the swords. So overall, the robot mode has some issues, but I feel like it looks fantastic on the whole. Like, I could gush over this thing all day. It just looks beautiful. Then getting into the truck mode, this is definitely the more flawed of the 2 modes. Now, I'll go ahead and say, I still think it looks solid, and I do think that a lot of people out there are kind of over-exaggerating its flaws, because it does have some proportional issues I've seen noted with like the grille and the front hood. Admittedly, the windshield wipers are wrong, and then, you know, the cabin's kind of the wrong shape, and overall he looks a bit more round, which people have pointed out looks a bit more like the Voyager from the first movie line that was based on a Kentworth truck, whereas the Peterbilt that he was, of course, in the movies is a lot more blocky. And then it looks like he still has the robot mode details on the wheels. Maybe that was something that was left on or mistransformed, I don't know. On the whole, I really don't think the truck mode's bad. It definitely could be more accurate. For me, it's gonna kind of depend on how the transformation is. I mean, there are some things like the windshield wipers that are just straight up wrong, and I doubt that the transformation has an effect on that. But you know, there are other things where I just kind of think maybe some compromises just had to be made. There are times where I can't help but feel like people kind of expect too much from the toys sometimes, and it's like, this thing is so accurate, compromises are gonna happen and likely happen in both modes. I don't know, for me the truck mode could be way worse. I do hope they address some of these issues, and I'll get to that in a bit, but right now I don't think it looks bad, and I'll be very interested to see how the transformation of this guy works. Even at their most complex, I enjoy Unique Toys' transformations, so I'm looking forward to that aspect. And as I just alluded to, we've seen some comments from Unique Toys where apparently they are taking feedback with this, so maybe we'll see some changes here and there. Whenever this was first announced, they also mentioned a Jetfire, or at least alluded to him, and to a combined mode that requires no disassembly, which is very interesting. And in the more recent comments, with them also acknowledging the feedback, apparently they might be doing a Bumblebee from either Dark of the Moon or The Last Night, likely Dark of the Moon to go with this guy, and a Sentinel, which I know a lot of people are very excited for, myself included. That's the character that people have been begging for Unique Toys to do. I feel like they'll definitely get around to it at some point, especially with them tacking the main or leader characters from The Last Night and Age of Extinction and now Dark of the Moon, and of course Sentinel is the only one left from Dark of the Moon for them to do that could be counted as a leader, so I'm sure they'll get to him. And yeah, those are my thoughts on Unique Toys' take on Optimus Prime. Obviously these are just the great prototype images. I'm very excited to see where this goes. I'm sure it'll be probably at least a year before this thing comes out, possibly even longer if there's any sort of redesign or whatever. I really do believe that this could be the definitive Bayverse Optimus, and I can't wait to see more from Unique Toys on this, and of course any other figures they do. What do you think about Unique Toys Optimus Prime? Are you liking it? Are you not? Do you think this will be the best Bayverse Optimus figure? And what possible issues do you have with the robot mode or the truck mode? Let me know down in the comments. Before we go, I wanted to thank my members on Patreon. In my average bird tier there is Optimus Prime, and in my Birds of Prey tier there is Austin Gillis and Darth Spooby. I really appreciate the channel support, you guys. You're freaking awesome. As always, I want to give a big thanks to everyone for watching, and have a good one.